Welcome to episode 68 of Theater School Rejects podcast. I'm joined by
Ryan,
and he's been a loyal supporter. He came out to the last 3 Theater School Rejects shows, which is important because we were often one audience member short of being canceled.
right around the corner.
Yeah, it is right around the corner, but we still appreciate you coming out. And do you want to tell anybody what you do, or a rough summation of what you do?
Which part?
I don't know, how you want to promote yourself, man? Theoretically, someone's going to listen to this.
Theoretically. Well, I write listicles for the internet for both hotcars.com, and I write the CBR videos about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's right. He writes articles that pop up on Screen Rant and places.
Yeah. Well, Comic Book Resources is the
CBR, not Screen Rant.
Yeah.
I've seen them.
They are the same though. They're the same company.
Well, it did seem like it was the same YouTube page, but anyway,
Yeah.
I've seen it pop up. Was it 10 most violent things in the Marvel Universe?
Yeah, 10 things in the Marvel Universe not meant for kids, like Captain America kicking a dude into a propeller.
Yeah.
So
that and does that show you as a writing credit on those videos, or are you just kind of uncredited?
I'm uncredited on the videos.
But is there an article somewhere that you are credited for?
I get bylines on hotcars.com.
But not on CBR?
Not on CBR, no.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
You write great content and no one knows.
Yep.
Well,
That's the world I'm going to be living in.
that's the world we're all living in.
I also do below the line set crew work on movies.
And is there a website people can find you at, or?
No.
All right.
I think staff, various staffing purposes, stuff like that.
Well, then we can't really promote you.
No.
But if you like the podcast, email me, existentialstandup@gmail.com. And if you want to get a hold of Ryan for writing or to write for you and ghostwrite, because he's okay with not having a byline, contact me and I'll send you his way.
I do have a podcast, actually.
He has a podcast. All right, where's the
Who
podcast?
doesn't have a podcast at this point?
Well, I don't know. I didn't have one until about a year ago. What's your podcast called?
It's called 1,000 Maybe Worlds.
1,000 Maybe Worlds. And how can people find that?
It's on the iTunes in the regular ways. It's very specific though. It's an episode review of a 1950s old-time radio science fiction anthology show called X-1.
Well, you found your niche, man.
That is a
they
super
say
niche.
They say go for the niche.
Yep.
No one. This is a totally general podcast, and there's no niche to it. Although we talk about niche things, but it all wanders and meanders.
Yeah.
The first one me and Richard did, we talked about the mighty endowed from Young Justice.
Nice.
Who basically had one appearance in Young Justice 1. And I mean, they may have referenced her for something else, but more or less, she's a one-shot character. But we spent 5 minutes talking about her.
I did think of you because my latest article mentions Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight!
Yeah, do you remember I don't actually remember the story, I had to look it up. Do you remember the storyline where Loki put the Fountain of Fire at the north, and it gave everyone superpowers, but every time it gave someone superpowers, it would hurt someone who has magic powers?
Not that. I remember the annual where everyone had superpowers and making a new world where there was no hunger.
It was kind of like that, yeah. It was just Loki being a dick.
Well, I remember a Loki Alpha Flight storyline, but
Right.
not that one, I don't think.
It was, they wound up making...
Talisman all messed up.
Yeah. Oh, I think that was the same story, actually. It was in the X-Men world. Well, it was an X-Men Alpha Flight crossover.
Yeah, but it was annuals, I think. It was annual 1, annual 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I remember that. It was because he ended up with X-Men fighting Alpha Flight. It was pretty great.
Yeah.
Colossus and Sasquatch went toe-to-toe.
Yeah.
And who didn't want to see that?
It was kind of like a needful thing, superpower, fuck-up thing.
Well, yeah. Well, what I remember, again, the storyline I remember is that people gained powers, but they lost creativity. They were not able to, they could make any building, but they couldn't design something original.
That sounds right. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm summarizing it from other people's summaries. I didn't read it myself.
Well, I remember reading it, and I think I've also read summaries because I've gone on Wikipedia and read most of the Alpha Flight entries. But I do remember specifically reading those 2 annuals because it was really interesting. It's about the hierarchy of needs.
Right.
If you could provide for everybody,
Yeah.
but at the cost of their creativity, would it be worth it?
Right. It's kind of a Randy thing, I think, probably.
I mean, I don't know if it has an Ayn Rand. Well, it's somewhat, actually, it is very much so, because that's what the socialist ideal is, taking care of everyone
Right.
at the cost of one's individuality.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's very much a Fountainhead theme.
Yeah. It's sort of that weird, I think it's a false dichotomy that Randian philosophy really is.
I like where this podcast is taken. I want you to be a fucking regular on the podcast. So I want to pull back for a bit because
Okay.
it's sort of like, I want that's a good discussion. I want to put a pin on it just for a second.
Sure.
In the sense of, like, I find podcasts very difficult to find. Like, people tell me, I got a podcast, and I don't have iTunes. I have a Verizon phone, and I don't fuck about with iTunes.
Right.
And, like, for an Android at least, I can't find anybody's podcast. So I took all my podcasts and I put up on YouTube.
Right.
So I figure at this point, everyone's got unlimited data on their phone, and it's easy as fuck to find things on YouTube. And don't tell me, oh, but it's visual. Because fucking, half the time I got YouTube on, I'm in the car, and I'm
Right.
only listening to the audio.
And
So,
there's no real. This is the weirdest thing. Like, if I had a video that I wanted to put up on the internet,
yeah,
I have like 52 options.
right.
I have so many options about where I want to put a video up. But I have an audio file I want to put up on the internet, I can go fuck myself. Like, there's no.
But you can put it up on YouTube.
You can put it up on YouTube as a video.
Yeah. You just put and I just put a static image, like a
Yeah.
Physical Rejects logo, and I make it a video. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, like, there is SoundCloud, and for the first, like, month and a half of the podcast, I was paying $20 a month to SoundCloud.
Right, you have to pay for it. We pay to host on I should know this. Everyone uses it. Oh, Libsyn.
Yeah, and I might have had Libsyn and not SoundCloud. Let's just say I had one of those, right?
Right.
And like, people would download them from the website or from iTunes or some shit. But since I don't have iTunes, I had no idea if my podcast was available on iTunes.
Right.
Because like I said, I can't find anybody's fucking podcast.
You have to go do it yourself. It's I made my co-host do all of this. It's
Yeah,
a terrible person.
well, my co-host was a fucking idiot, so...
I'm the idiot on our podcast. That's my job.
So, like, I did my... Oh, man. Anyway, I'm not going to it. But he went and fucking, like, climbed up his own ass, and he's not even a co-host in the podcast anymore.
Sick.
So, it's like... So then when he stopped, I reached out to Richard, and we both kind of started a podcast where I would guest on his, and he guest on mine, and I'd have other guests. Because I was like, I'm not linking myself to a co-host anymore. It's my podcast with guest hosts. And so anyway, like, I find that YouTube is the most reliable. But now that I've got like 70 episodes,
Right.
I'm thinking of going back to Libsyn.
Yeah.
And then, like, from there, using that and maybe put up on, like, CD Baby or something where it could be on Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify does it.
If you're through some other place.
Yeah.
Because you can't go to anyway. So
Stitcher, I think is one of the things. Whatever we're on Stitcher too.
but I find YouTube the most accessible, and yet at the same time, I have like almost no clicks on these, like 30 clicks, 40 clicks. Me and Richard joke around about our force of listeners because we're like,
our podcast, Thousand Rules, has 3 fans. It's 3. That's how many you're gonna get. It's like a pretty niche.
well, I mean, but where else are they gonna go?
Right.
Those fans have no one but you.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, now we turn the kind of business a bit. So anyway, I pulling back to go back to the other point,
Okay.
which is the Ayn Rand discussion.
Sure.
See, I love the Fountainhead. I read that book. I thought it was great. Watched the movie. Thought that was pretty great.
Right.
And then I read Atlas Shrugged in like a day and a half. It's like 1,000 pages. I couldn't put it down.
Really?
But like, the people who have gone on board the Ayn Rand wagon
Right.
are people I despise,
Yeah.
and this creates
Well,
a dichotomy for me.
I think it's an alluring philosophy because it says you can stay up as late as you want and eat all the ice cream you want, and who doesn't want that? It just it out of hand sort of dismisses the tragedy of the commons, and
Absolutely, good point. But I think it's also worthwhile to consider that she was coming from a
she was coming
place.
from a collectivist area.
Not
And she used
just
a lot
that,
of-
where socialism had run wild.
Right.
And you might say it was totalitarianism, the name of socialism.
Right.
But she had seen what socialism taken to its logical endpoint would
Well,
be.
It's
I'm saying she's reacting against something, and if you see her as a voice, not like this is what life should be, but as this is an important voice to counterbalance the idea that everything is okay if it benefits the common good and without any regard for the integrity of the individual.
Right.
I see her as a counterbalance, and
Certainly.
fantastic as a counterbalance, but if you adopt her philosophy, I think you've missed the point.
Yeah, well, I think it's when you twist the dial to any extremes. I would argue that it's not necessarily logical extremes, because I think that, where they're definitely coming. You look at states like Sweden and Norway and the Nordic states that have democratic socialism, and they're not
No,
becoming
but they're balanced.
yeah.
I mean, like, America's not balanced. America is out of balance, partly because of people adopting, in name only, I would argue,
Right.
Ayn Rand's philosophy.
Yeah.
Because if you read Atlas Shrugged, she despises big business and talks about how they would bury the invention of an engine that runs on water.
Right.
And to imagine that you could advocate an Ayn Rand philosophy while also advocating corporate interests, which by definition is the complete demise of the individual,
Right.
is a truth. You know, you can't possibly hold those two viewpoints at the same time.
Yeah. I see. Well,
Well, I mean, you can if you're lying to yourself or
Right.
lying to the people or whatever, but you can't hold them. You know, that's intellectual dishonesty,
right.
and of course, for me,
Well,
Republicans are the party of intellectual dishonesty.
Very much
So,
so, yeah.
so that's their brand, but that their followers jump on this and don't see the difference is like, how are you reading the same Ayn Rand?
Right. Well, like I said, you get to the part where it says you can stay up as late as you want and have all the ice cream you want, and you're like, I'm done. This is awesome. As long as I don't know if it was Will Rogers or who I'm quoting at this point, but America doesn't have poor people; it has temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've heard that quote. It's a great quote.
And so there's just a lot of that. I mean, even because I come from a white straight dude from the middle class family, as poor as fuck as I am right now, I still just think of myself as just over the horizon. And there's nothing I'm doing is gonna make me $1 million fucking dollars.
Well, you're selling screenplays. You said you got some in development, right?
Right.
I mean, that actually is the path to like sudden riches and fame.
Well, I'm in Northern California, so this is how I view things like that. Like, there was a lot of people digging for gold too. The only people who got rich were the people selling shovels.
But that's not true. The ones who consistently got rich were the ones selling shovels.
I was gonna say, Crocker Art Museum, that guy owned a hardware store, I believe. Stanford, he was, I can't remember what he owned. All the names we have and everything, those guys all sold shovels and shit. None of those guys mined for gold. Even Sutter didn't mine for gold. He owned the land the gold was found on. There's no names of like famous guys who struck a gold mine. Like, the real money was in selling idiots tools to fucking look for gold. And you can see that this town is built on that shit. There are so many classes I can take on screenwriting. There are so many books I can buy on screenwriting.
Of course, yeah. And to me, that's like epitomized by the real estate classes. And I had a fucking guy who was like buying into that. And I'm like, look, anybody who is making millions flipping houses isn't writing a book about it. What the fuck are they writing books for? Where is their interest?
Right. no one makes $1 million flipping a house and going, you know, it'd be really good, the publishing market.
Yeah, that's the.
You work all year for the same amount of money. No.
If flipping houses was easier than selling classes,
Right.
guess what they'd be doing?
Yeah.
And like Trump University, not to fully by Trump, but just another like total
Right.
thing. But like also human
Trump,
nature.
Trump exists basically on our own delusions.
No, but
Yeah.
Trump University was a specific thing where
Right,
you
yes.
could theoretically you're going to learn to do real estate deals.
Yeah, the way he did, which is badly.
Right. Yeah. And poor people, and they would exploit them.
Yeah.
But when you're poor, you're desperate. And I've been poor and desperate, and you start to look at the world differently because.
Oh, yeah. I went to the Cutco Knives sales meeting.
Yeah.
I sold perfumes, fucking business to business for 3 whole days.
I sold paintings for 3 whole days, similarly.
Oh, yeah.
But I think rational people are like, no, this is not. Well, it also depends, because like
Right.
there are people who are good at sales,
Yeah.
and they can go into a scam like that and do well.
Yeah.
If you're a salesman,
Yeah.
of course, if you're a salesman, there's all kind of scams you can do well at.
Yeah.
But,
I think if you're a salesman, the current climate of the world is your fucking wage bill.
but again, like I think a salesman is one of those jobs where you have either an absence of integrity or at least intellectual integrity.
Right.
And I've been talking about this kind of a bit on Facebook and whatnot. But like what I mean by that is you might, it's whether you can hold 2 ideas that aren't true at the same time and be
Yeah.
okay with it as long as you're winning the argument. That's what I call intellectual integrity. And it's always just self-awareness. Like, people don't understand their own premises.
Right.
And then there's just like not having integrity. Like, yeah, I can lie.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. And
well, yeah, they're really bad. I'm sure they did this in your paintings, walking around selling crap job.
yeah.
Like every day at that fucking knockoff perfume crap job I had, they would have like some new weird motivational thing. First of all, they made us say we feel great, like we were Tony the fucking Tiger.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Which is why I didn't join the Scouts. I'm like, I'm not going to salute you with 2 fingers. I'm 8.
Well, yeah, but that's the cult, right?
Right,
They've got to you feel affirmed, and then you're out. You're a part of things. You're not just being exploited. You're
Right.
a cog.
Yeah. We're the smart
And anybody
ones.
who's happy being a cog, but like, at least for me, the option of making $5 or $10 a day compared to making nothing when nothing else was in the offings because there was no
Right.
jobs at the time.
Yep.
Like, you take $5 or $10 just
Yeah.
like you were out plugging away, playing the saxophone because something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
But that's different than people who are like, oh, I'm happy and do this for like weeks or months or years and think it's going someplace.
Right.
Which.
Yeah, they would say stuff like, oh, I get all my best business behind no soliciting signs.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not a solicitor, I'm not a prostitute. And I was like, you're an idiot. You're a fucking moron, is what you are. Like, we all know what the fucking soliciting sign means, you fucking pedantic prick.
Right, but some people would, and like that's the thing. We almost like you said, oh yeah, I get chased by security guard all the time. Like, for fucking what? For like $2 per painting?
Yeah.
No minimum wage.
Yeah, and they're really bullies about it too. Like, they're really like, they come down. I'm not.
I ain't gonna fucking judge you.
Only hand is my problem.
Yeah, well, you can put this stuff down for a second if you want.
It's all right. It's not gonna change me now.
Yeah, but the knowledge is better. So, I mean, yeah, well, it kind of like lost the thread there, but like it's kind of different ideas.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is the idea of, that being a salesman, I think, is a horrible quality.
Yeah.
But it's a skill,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
I try not to piss on. I not to try to piss on people who are, if that's the only skill you've got.
Right.
But like, you should at least hate yourself a little bit if you're a good salesman. Like,
feel that.
I can't be friends with you if you don't recognize what a fucking horrible quality that is.
Yeah. And I think, like, because we've stacked the world and the economy the way that we have, it's really the only quality that's rewarded.
I think that, well, I don't know about that, but I think that's the quality, like, you need salesmen, no matter what your business is, no matter how good your idea, and kind of like, in a way, that's sort of like what I'm here to talk to you about, because like, I've got books, and I'm proud of them, but if I can't get my books to be seen, it does me no good.
Yeah.
Books that aren't read are falling short of their purpose.
Absolutely.
But like, so I mean, I recognize them as a necessary evil,
Right.
but like, hey, know who makes really good special forces? Murderers.
Right.
Right? But we don't praise them. We do actually. We call them heroes.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all fucked up. All right. On that note, that will conclude episode 68 of Theoretical Rejects. I'm looking forward to doing a bunch more podcasts with Ryan. Again, you can find me at dougxcomedy.com, or again, you can email me existentialstandup@gmail.com. And if you need to get a hold of Ryan and his podcast that's meant for 3 viewers, you can contact me and I'll point you in that direction with a link. All right.